Morning, folks. Here we are, ready for our final video before the break. Got a few things to talk about. We're going to talk about your assignment for after the break or over the break. We're going to talk about paper number 2 now that you've all submitted paper number 1. And we're going to talk about APA format. First and foremost, after the break or during the break, you have issues 4 and 5 of understanding rhetoric. At the end on page 216, we're at the end of issue 5. Drawing conclusion number 2. Throughout this book, the characters interact with different social media platforms. How are such platforms collaborative forms of knowledge building and sharing? In interacting socially on such platforms, have you developed insights and ideas that you otherwise might not have had? And then it says, compose a blog post in which you consider how such platforms are collaborative spaces and invite others to respond. Just do it as an APA paper. Don't write a blog post. We're not keeping a blog. We're just writing an APA paper here, but respond to number 2 on page 216 after reading issues 4 and 5 over the break. Now, as far as APA is concerned, there are a few things to think about. So first and foremost, let's open up a PowerPoint for you. And I can share my screen. And you can look at this little fancy PowerPoint. Slideshow, let's start. All right, so we've got APA format. APA stands for American Psychological Association. This is the basic format used in the sciences, where MLA is being used in the humanities. APA is in the sciences, like nursing, computer science, chemistry, biology, criminal justice. Those kinds of places are using APA. So I would imagine more of you are actually going into those sorts of fields than into the humanities. So APA is going to be really important for you going forward. First thing to think about is we have the title page. You have your title in bold and kind of in the middle, just above the middle. An APA title should be kind of long. This example, Green Roofs, researching an argument in favor of installing more green roofs at Eastern Michigan University. Green Roofs is my main title, and then I have the subtitle that follows after the colon. This is a good APA title, aside from the fact that I need to delete the word "to" in there. And then you're going to skip an extra space, your name, the department of English Language and Literature in our case, Eastern Michigan University, Professor Peltier, and the due date. And this is, for paper 2, we're talking March 24th, 2022. That's all you need on the cover page. Title, your name, department, school, professor, date. Now, if you're writing something a little more formal, there's the publication style that needs a couple extra things. There is APA a 6th edition, which is a few other things. We're using the 7th edition. Some professors and other classes might still want you to be using 6th. That one is available on OWL as well as the 7th edition. And it's going to require a couple other things too. So it's always a good idea to talk to your professor and make sure you're doing what your professors want you to do. Generally, this is the format, but if somebody demands something else, just do what they tell you to do. It's not worth fighting over. Page 2, we have the full title again, and I would say just copy and paste it rather than trying to retype it. You have your page number in the upper right, but no last name, just the page number. And then we have the first paragraph. So the paper actually starts on like the 3rd line of page 2. Title page, full title on page 2 again, and then the opening paragraph, the intro. APA also suggests that we use some level headings. In this regard, we've got level 1s, which are like main ideas, which would kind of be equivalent to the Roman numeral of an outline. Level 2 would be a secondary type of information, like the capital letter of an outline. A level 3 which just goes at the beginning of the paragraph. So we've got level 1, bold in the middle, level 2, bold on the margin, level 3, bold at the beginning of the paragraph. This is pretty uncommon, but you might need it. This is like the Arabic numeral of an outline. What the level headings, particularly level 1 headings, allow you to do is kind of quickly move from main point to main point without having to worry as much about things like transitions. You throw a level heading and there's like a subtitle and you just talk, right? So if you've got a 5-page paper to write, you've got your intro and your conclusion, quarter page each. So now you're down to 4.5 pages. If you've got 3 main points, level heading, level 1, and level 1, that's 3 main points. You're writing like 3 1.5-page papers and just putting the level headings in between them to tie them together. Super easy. APA in that regard makes things really, really easy. Think about those level headings. Now, you're not going to use 2s or 3s for the homework assignments, but for writing assignment 7, you might want to try a level heading 1 when you answer that question on page 216, just to try and get it in there. In-text citations, one of the most important things to remember is APA wants years everywhere. Whenever you talk about a source, whenever you use outside information, get the year in there. Reference page, just like an MLA, is alphabetized, but the information is kind of in a different order, and you're using first initials rather than first names. And there are a couple other differences we'll talk about. So this one here, Smith 2010 suggests, is kind of the standard, the third asterisk here for an in-text. The author's name, the year in parentheses, and then you go on with your sentence. And Smith 2010 says is introducing a quote, suggests is introducing some paraphrasing or information from something else. The first one, Smith 2010 P47, this is if the name isn't in the beginning of the sentence and you're just putting everything at the end. Generally, if you're quoting, it would probably be best to do the second asterisk. If you're paraphrasing or just using some information, the third asterisk. So you got the name and then the year. Always have the year. Your paper should be full of years in parentheses if you're writing an APA. Your reference page. So MLA, we had what was called a works cited page. APA wants it referenced. Minds are blown. Last name, first initial, year, web page, title of article, title of book. Book title, only the first word is capitalized or the first word after a colon. So book title, I capitalized book, but not title. Journal title, the whole thing is capitalized like anywhere else. Article titles, capitalized like a book title. So the first word is capitalized or the first word after a semicolon or colon. But unlike MLA, we're not using quotation marks. It's just the article title, not capitalized. And then you have the journal title italicized and capitalized, and the DOI if you've got one, or the URL if you don't. Always make sure you've got that year when you mention a writer's name, though. And that's about it for this particular PowerPoint. This PowerPoint is on Canvas, so you can always double check it there over the break, take another look at it, watch this video right now whenever you're watching it. Next week, when you're doing your homework and you've forgotten this APA stuff, you can go double check the PowerPoint, and that's fine. You can also look at the sample papers. I have 2 sample papers for paper 2, one that I wrote about green roofs, one that a student last semester wrote about emotional support animals. I made a couple of tweaks to it to tighten it up a little bit, but they're both there. The format is good. You can always look at my sample papers as well if you think the PowerPoint isn't helping quite enough. So here we have sample paper 2. Again, I've got my full title, Green Roofs, Research and an Argument in Favor of Installing More Green Roofs at Eastern Michigan University. Author, school, author, department, school, professor, date, March 24th. So we have a month from today when I'm recording this to get paper 2 done. Again, we have the full title at the top of page 2, page number in the upper corner. We have my intro paragraph that sort of talks about green roofs a little bit, many schools, not school. Then we get to my specific point. With this in mind, it's important to consider installing more at Eastern Michigan University. And in order to do that, one needs to build a strong case in favor of these roofs. To do so, let's change with this in mind because we've got it already. To do so, comma, one must understand and develop a strong, let's say, strong, I don't want to say understanding again because I've already got it once, a strong selection of the research needed to support this argument. And now the paper 2 is all about the research process and all about the sources. I have my first level heading and I've got these little things over here on the side to sort of explain what's going on. Level heading 1, websites. And I talk about some websites I found. Now, for paper 2, I would say you're going to need roughly 8 sources. You've got 3 from paper 1. You wrote about 1 for paper 1. You found 3 supposedly. So that means you need at least 5 more. Another one of those sources should be mel.org, a source from mel.org. We talked about mel.org a few weeks ago. Mel.org, you can get books from almost any library in Michigan, so you can find extra sources that way. I would like you to use mel.org for a source. That's 4 sources, 3 that you found for paper 1. So paper 1 source, 2 sources that you didn't use for paper 1, your Melcat source. I also would like you to do an interview for papers 2 and 3. You don't have to have the interview done for paper 2, but you should at least be thinking about who you would interview. Now the interview, there are a couple of caveats. The interview person should be an authority in the field. I'm talking about green roofs. I could interview somebody on campus that's involved in construction projects. I could interview somebody on campus that teaches environmental science. I could interview somebody that works for a company that does green roof installations. Not just somebody that has a green roof, not a student who thinks they look cool, somebody who is an authority in the field. The second thing is it has to be somebody that you don't know well already. Don't interview family members and friends and your friends' parents and things like that. My uncle works for a green roof installation company. I'm not going to interview him because he's my uncle. I can ask my uncle though, hey, uncle, can you introduce me to a coworker of yours that I can interview, to maintain that a bit of a distance there. It's a little kind of scary and nervous, but there are lots of people on campus that you could talk to. So one particular person, at least you just talk to somebody on campus. You don't have to go and find somebody out in the rest of the world. And I would say it might be best to do it online instead of trying to do it in person, just, because of COVID, we got to stay safe. So now we've got source from paper 1, the 2 other sources from paper 1, your Melcat source, your interview, that's 5, a couple more library sources, maybe some websites, get it up to 8-ish, maybe 9 sources. I put databases as a level 2 heading because although they're online, which means I'm going to leave it under the heading of websites, it's a specific kind, so it's its own thing over here. And then I've got database articles, then I've got books. In my last paragraph, once the paper includes some references to an interview with the director of EMU's physical plant and a member of the EMU faculty who specializes in environmental science, it will be nearing completion. So clearly I haven't done the interview yet. I'm not really talking about it too much, but I mention it, like I'm thinking about it. And then between paper 2 and paper 3, I can actually talk to those people. So in this case, I'm doing 2 interviews. Y'all have to do at least 1. And again, I'll reiterate, the interview should be an authority in the field, somebody that you don't know very well. So, just because your cousin got beat up by a cop doesn't mean that your cousin is an authority on police brutality. Just because your girlfriend didn't get a job because of her gender or sexuality doesn't mean she's an authority in the ideas of gender and sexuality. They're nice examples, but they're not authoritative sources. So remember that. Be thinking about who you're going to interview while we're on break here. Be thinking about paper 2. Be thinking about APA. And one last thing to take a look at when we're on the website. Let's share the screen one more time. Here we are. I've got, we can go to OWL APA. And we get all the APA stuff here as well. APA 7. If your professor wants 6, the older one can be found there. We've got references. We've got yet another sample paper. The other thing for paper 2, but it's not quite as important yet, is at the last page of the paper, we should also have an appendix. 8 sources, your reference page, and your appendix, which should just be a meme. The reason I'm doing this is I want you to have used an appendix. An appendix is used in a paper to attach extra information, tables, charts, graphs, pictures, those kinds of things that don't really fit nicely anywhere in the body of the paper. You write the word appendix at the top and you put it there. It goes after the reference page. You can have multiple appendices, and then you would have appendix 1 and one thing, and then on the next page, appendix 2 and another thing. In this case, it's just a meme that you make about your topic. Don't just Google and find a meme about your topic, make one yourself. This one took me all of about 30 seconds to make. It's not like it's got to be that tricky or difficult, but you can do it. You've got the APA page on OWL, and I'll put a link to it on Canvas. You've got 2 of my sample papers. You've got this video that talks about it again. Title page, long title, your name, department, school, professor, and date. Page 2, the full title again, copied from the first page so you don't mess it up and redo it differently. And then your paper. Don't forget the level headings, your references. Don't forget the years when you mention something. This book, 3rd edition, is from 2021. They say in issue 4 of Understanding Rhetoric, 2021. Then you can throw in your information, right? I guess that's about everything. Have yourselves a good break. Have fun. Stay safe. Keep wearing your masks. Keep studying and reading and having all those things. Watch some good movies. Don't do the dangerous drugs like the white powders. If you're in Washtenaw, some drugs and you're 18, some of them are legal now. Don't do the illegal ones. Stay away from the white powders. So, masks, fun, no white powders. There you go. Good times. Let me know how things are going. I'll take a look at your papers this week. I should definitely have them done before the break is over. Again, have some fun.